Hey, how you doing?
Good. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Hope you are enjoying the uh, the Wednesday afternoon. I hope you're enjoying all the sports that we're on, including the game that just concluded. We're gonna
I
have to
don't think
talk
you
about.
mean I don't think you mean Spain 7, Costa Rica. No, huh?
Hey, you want to talk about teams that are like 100 levels better in quality, just thrashing and doing their job? That's that didn't happen in Washington D.C. with Georgetown.
Yeah, I don't know. At one point the announcers were talking about, oh, this is a American playing well on the road, and I go, first of all, there's probably 500 people there, and second,
Right.
American is what, 5 miles further away from the stadium than Georgetown. I mean, is this
Yeah.
really a road game?
No,
You know?
it's not.
Yeah. I want to pull the Georgetown fan base. The rest of the season is playing at home for Georgetown. Should that be considered a neutral site game for our opponents? Because there's certainly no home court advantage.
There's no home court advantage. I mean, you play the game at 11:30, and I sort of get it. You want to do like the half day type thing. I don't know if there's a Wizards or a Caps game tonight. So they
Wizards
want to.
play in Miami tonight. I'll be there, so it's not the
Oh,
Wizards.
at the
Humble brag. Humble
at the
brag.
sports arena.
Yeah, because
Yep,
those checks
we all know
bouncing.
what's there. Yeah, we all know what's happening there.
Yeah.
Boy, but yeah,
It's not yet the Bang Bros arena, but they've been pushing hard again for the
oh
new
boy,
Nets. So we can only hope.
boy.
Can only hope. So yeah, week 12. It's Thanksgiving week. We should start with there. We start with Thanksgiving. What are your plans? And then give me your biggest or your hottest Thanksgiving food take.
Yeah, so I think for plans where Thanksgiving travel is such a it's such a disaster, especially now. And I think they're saying it's the most active airport day since 2019. So we are staying home. We're prepping a little Thanksgiving feast for all the people in the area that didn't want to deal with traffic and travel as well. So once I am done with this podcast, I'm going to be getting the turkey brining going, starting with getting all the sides prepped. I've already pre-batched some cocktails, so it'll be a nice
All
time.
right. Oh wow. Sounds like a lot of work. Yeah, we've that's good. That's good. We've got the whole game coming over tomorrow.
Very
We'll
nice.
have soccer on the one TV, football on the other, and we're just gonna, it's gonna be a good grand old time until the baby starts crying. So
Well, yeah, that's usually what happens.
I mean, he's bigger than the turkey, so somehow it's like,
Oh boy,
it's dog, then turkey, then baby in terms of
that's
size.
right. Well, there you go.
We're gonna lay them all out and see, measure who wants
Which
what.
one's the
So,
biggest? Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, Thanksgiving food takes. It's that time of year, right? Everybody's got weird Thanksgiving food takes. What's your hottest Thanksgiving food take? Or you can rank Thanksgiving foods.
Yeah, so I think at least in terms of the hot takes, turkey's good. I think a lot of people are trying to be like, turkey's no good, ham's better, like rather do a roast, turkey's overrated. I think turkey is good. It's good to have,
Okay.
once or twice a year, and this is one of those days.
Yeah, I think turkey's good. Like the way that you do Thanksgiving turkey, where it's a big, thick slice, I think is an underrated
I agree.
roasted meal. However, I will say this: generally, it does require gravy and/or other soft foods to help enhance its overall,
Oh
I
yeah,
think, texture and feel and flavor. So it is not on its own a standalone great, but it works well in relationship. It is elevated by others, and it similarly elevates the rest of the plate because it does not take over. If you had a prime rib,
100%.
that's
Yeah,
that's your star. Doesn't matter what else you have. But
that's
Turkey
right.
says, "Okay, I can share the plate. It's a good team player. It's the opposite of Russell Westbrook. So I'll allow that food take. I'm
Yeah,
we'll
absolutely.
see. I'm excited for pie.
Yep,
Pumpkin
I
pie,
went
apple
to
pie. I'm excited for pie.
I went to Costco, got the giant $6 pumpkin pie that
Nice.
looks about as large as a pizza from a pizzeria. The pie quantity to dollars value has stayed consistent even in these troubling times of rising inflation.
Well, the real question is, while getting that $6 pumpkin pie, did you get a $1.50 hot dog and soda?
Oh yeah, I did not. It was late after dinner because if you go any other time during the day, then just forget it. Lines are out the door. You got to avoid that.
Yeah, I'm in. I need to go get another large, giant box of baby wipes, and I have decided not to go
Yeah.
pre-Thanksgiving, and we are on the
Nope.
last 100 pack.
Oh no.
And
We're
so
thinking
we'll
about you.
see. We'll see. Yeah, it's we should be good uh, to the weekend, but we're gonna have to go this weekend, and
Fingers
supposed to take
crossed.
the
Knock on
car to
wood.
get an oil change Friday. So we'll see if it coincides. So we're hoping there's only one poop a day, because then we can ration the wipes in an appropriate
That's
fashion.
right.
So
That's
yeah,
exactly
so
right.
those are the pressing concerns
Oh yeah, of
with
course.
Costco. So all right, Thanksgiving food, now Thanksgiving games. 3 games on
Yep.
the slate. We'll get into some other NFL topics, but first, which game is going to feast? Where do we find the points? There's a nice. Some of the betting sites have specials on which game has the most points scored. Which team or player do you think is going to feast tomorrow?
Well, not to preview some of our later topics, but it
Mm-hmm.
is going to be the Dallas Cowboys against the New York Giants.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the amount of injuries that they have on that defense and frankly on the offense as well, but when we're talking about who's going to be feasting, getting the points, the amount of injuries on the Giants defense, makes this game a lot less attractive in terms of competitiveness from what we thought 2 weeks ago. But it's certainly going to be attractive for Dallas in terms of total points. I really think we're going to see a big day from the running backs and the wide receivers. They're just banged up on the interior and they're banged up in the secondary. So I think it's going to be Dallas in a bit of a walk, even with, Buffalo, speaking of neutral site games, going back to Detroit for the Thanksgiving game tomorrow.
Well, a couple of thoughts. You missed an easy one. You said, big day, and then you just had to follow. You should have followed it up with for Big D. Big D has a big day.
That's why I'm not the professional there.
That's why. Yeah, exactly.
I need to get those
money
podcast reps in.
Yeah, Full Sail University. You see, you hear the ads.
That's right.
I think at Dallas, that they should probably win at home against the Giants. I think a lot of points in the Buffalo-Detroit game. I saw something earlier in the week. It's something crazy like 11-2 in the last road teams on Thanksgiving in Detroit, or something like 11-2 in the last 13 against the spread, or something absurd where it's like take the Bills.
Right.
The Bills also sent the Lions about a gazillion donuts today. I don't know why. Maybe as a pump them up, slow them down, crash the glucose levels.
Get the sugar high.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that. Buffalo went home after the game on Sunday. I don't really understand that one. That's a lot of unnecessary travel, but it's not a far flight. That was interesting to me, but I would expect that game to have the most points, and I would expect Josh Allen and Diggs and Gabe Davis and that Buffalo passing game to get right. This is a get right spot on the track in Ford Field, and then be feasting on those, giant 6-legged turkeys that'll get wheeled out, after the game. But that's what I think. I think this Buffalo's offense is going to feast because Detroit, other than Okuda playing well, they're just, I don't care. They won 3 in a row. This is not a good team. And Buffalo is itching for one of those like 40-point performances.
Yep, absolutely.
So, but yeah. So anyway, that's all the Thanksgiving talk we need. But, look, NFL, been going abroad, right? Was in England, was in Germany, was in Mexico City. Unfortunately, for one Cardinals assistant coach, who's been quite a big feature on Hard Knocks so far this year, he did not make it to the game on Monday. And I know I had to let you in on this, but thoughts on the second Cardinals assistant coach being let go this season for groping a woman?
Yeah, it's very bad. Shouldn't have
Very
happened. But when you think about that sort of incident, it's about the type of people that if you're Cliff Kingsbury, you surround yourself with to have success on the team. And if you're surrounding yourself with people that can't stay on the right side of morality and ethics and the law, that just creates distractions, and it shows poor leadership in terms of getting the team set, getting the team right for these games that are coming up, when realistically your season, like it's not just it's not just a little fun getaway to Mexico City. It's cliche or not, it's a business trip, and to do that, good for Cliff on drumming him out there and getting him off the team. But you got to surround yourself with the right.
I don't think Cliff has any role in. I think it's a Steve Keim and it's an ownership. This is an issue. I mean, I agree with you. I think for Cliff, this is bad. You've had in the offseason, former running backs coach now is like put on leave and ultimately resigns for the allegations were that he groped a woman. That's no one really knows that occurs outside of maybe the Phoenix market. Then Sunday night, offensive line coach, who again has been really prominent in the first couple of Hard Knocks episodes. I did not watch last night's or is it on tonight? Maybe, I don't know, in preparation for this to see what is shown, but I have to imagine it's addressed in some way because you can't really go through the week and not cover it. But Mexican authorities came to the Cardinals and with credible allegations that he had groped a woman. We don't know more. Immediately sent back, let go. Obviously, there has to be zero tolerance. You can't, there's no excuse. But I agree with you. I think it speaks to Cliff overall. It speaks to the type of personnel that he wants around him. It speaks to the type of culture that he's cultivated or he allows to have go on. And I really, they were giving him a lot of stick on Monday Night Football, talking about how he is the first 7 games of the year versus the second half of the year, both at Texas Tech and in Arizona, where he's above 500 to start the year, and then he falls off a cliff. I mean, pun aside, it's not a Kyler thing. It's a Cliff Kingsbury thing. It's a both thing. That's an issue. And so do you think Cliff is now the next coach fired? We've had 2 fired already this year, but do you think he's next? I know I gave you a short list of people to consider, but he's running out of room here.
I think it's an interesting question. I would say if he's not number 1, he's definitely top 3. The one that jumps to mind is Hackett with the Broncos, just because, look, he's looked completely outmatched. They've given away games. He's not doing the fundamentals right. And you have new ownership. So ownership's not wedded to Nathaniel Hackett.
Didn't ownership pick him?
But then they sold the team.
Oh, so the new owners did not pick him.
The new owners did not pick him.
Oh, yeah, he's done.
And this was the, we're going to hire Hackett so that Aaron Rodgers comes to us type of move. And
they can trade for Rodgers. They can trade for Rodgers. What's the Broncos? They're like 8-1. They'd be like 8-1 or 9-1 this year if the offense could score 18 points a game. I mean, it's something really crazy. Really crazy. Yeah. Not even having to be competent.
And Hackett's supposed to be an offensive mind too. So when you get the fact that he's supposed to be the offensive genius, and then nothing's happening as a result. Well, kind of have to make a change.
Yeah, but Paul would like you to comment on whether or not Patrick Ewing is the next coach fired. I don't think so.
Look, the only thing I would say to that, and we can talk about this for a very long time.
No.
If they wanted to make a change, they would have made it last year after they went winless.
Yep. You don't do it now. Their hands are tied with the guaranteed money. This is, for better or worse, this is a marriage until that contract runs out. And when it runs out, it will be a mutual parting of the ways. Maybe he
That's
leaves
right.
1 year early. This is not a fired. This is certainly not a midseason firing. This is certainly not a non-conference fire.
Right.
What are we, 2 or 3 weeks into the season? No.
Yeah.
You can't. Also, I don't think Georgetown should be expected to beat teams like American because of how they play against teams like Coppin State, who played the day before.
That's right.
I mean, you know, we've learned time and time again, it doesn't matter what the roster is. They don't coach defense. They're not consistent.
They don't adjust
bullied. They don't just. Mutombo's getting bullied in the post. Kids, I don't know what it is, but man, he's got to put some weight on because outside of his butt, he got no weight on that body, and he's getting bullied, pushed around, back down in the post. I mean, I don't care about talent. I don't care about potential. They're just not good.
Yep.
You know what Americans shoot 60+% in the second half. That's not good enough. I don't care. It's never going to be good enough. So yeah, I don't think Ewing's the next coach fired. I agree with you. Hackett probably gone. It's curious that they haven't fired him. They're kind of just sort of like whatever. I almost think it's we might as well just tank for a pick.
Yep.
Even though I think the Seahawks have it
as part of the deal.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the Seahawks have that pick, but it's obviously a problem either way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just think that he'll be gone for sure. For sure. It's let's see. Seattle has the Denver pick.
Yeah.
So you move on. I think Hackett's gone. Cliff's gone. I think confidently. I think Brendan Staley is in trouble. I don't think he'll be gone, but hot seat next year for sure. I could see Ron Rivera, depending on how the second half of the year goes.
Yeah.
If that gets sold, then you have to clean house. In Dallas, if Mike McCarthy has another playoff choke job, I mean, I don't think Jerry Jones is, wants to be the butt of the jokes.
On that one, look, Dallas, it's a cakewalk for them to make the Super Bowl out of the NFC.
No, it's not a cakewalk.
I mean, unless you have, we have a very interesting possible handball in the Belgium-Canada game with VAR. Can't give you exact play-by-play, folks. Can't do it.
That looks like it's going to be a penalty.
I think that's a penalty. I think he's in an unnatural position with the hand out. Can't give you exact play-by-play. But it looks like that's a pen. That is a pen to Canada.
As I've been known to scream during the knockout portions of the Copa America.
That's right.
Penal.
That's right.
So here we go. Penalty. Yellow card. Nice.
Yep.
Big moment here. Big moment in this group. This is a group that really I think anyone could take. Morocco, Croatia played to a draw.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a game where either team wins this, they are in the driver's seat. And
that's right.
Let's
need
see.
5 points to get out.
So Alfonso Davies here, the penalty kick taker at all of about 21 years old.
That's right. I mean, that's going to be a big opportunity there.
Has Courtois put on weight? Courtois looked a little thicker in the neck.
I don't know. A little bit, but that could be that 4K camera coming in there.
That's true. We do have a 4K television.
That's right.
So we did recently upgrade.
Look, you got to get those Black Friday deals. That's very important.
What do you mean? This is like early Black Friday Amazon deals. I'm good now. I don't need anything. This is riveting for people to listen to.
Good podcasting.
This is great.
Good dead air. We love it.
He saved it! Wow,
he saved it. Oh my!
Lots of dancing on the line. So
that took a while.
That took a long time. I think Davies psyched himself out. It was too much.
Yep.
Too much. Wow. I mean, it's a good call on the penalty. And then, honestly, not well taken. Very much too far to the center. No conviction. I think Courtois had the corner covered had he even gotten there. I mean,
nope. Just
great save.
Not what you
want. Excellent save. So Canada trudges on. Our neighbors to the north trudge on against Belgium. Whatever. Moving on, obviously big news. We seem to always talk about the Jets week to week now. I don't know why.
Right.
This is not a Jets podcast. We'll keep it very brief. Wilson versus Wilson. If they go do a catch me outside situation, who do you like in that battle royale?
I mean, Zach Wilson was supposed to have mobility. He hasn't really shown it, so I gotta go Garrett Wilson.
I think Zach Wilson's biggest attribute is his ability to slide into the DMs of his mom's friends. So while you try not to spit out your drink, we'll continue now. We'll move on to the real reason
Yes.
Paul's watching. Let's talk about the trade deadline.
The trade
let's talk about
deadline.
Paul not knowing when the trade deadline was and whether or not we have now reached peak Paul.
I feel like the league really missed out on quite a bit because you could just tell the bad offers were coming. I think the trade deadline snuck up on all of us since all the big trades have happened in October and early November, as we talked about. But yeah, this has certainly been this. I think we're at peak Paul. Peak Paul may have been just, but I also think we may have missed some. The league missed out a little bit because I certainly don't think any trades would have gotten completed. But there was one more week of all the offers coming to our mailbox, and I feel like we all missed out.
Yeah, so there's all sorts of we could go through the bad Paul trades. That would be an off-season one. I just have one that I want to highlight, though. At one point early this season, Paul tried to have me take Rashad Bateman for a fourth-round pick. Yeah, that was a no then. That would certainly be a hard no. I don't think Rashad Bateman's been rostered in about at least a month. So apparently Burrow could have been had for nothing. I mean, Paul, if Burrow can be had for nothing, then you should just drop him and he'll go through waivers. I mean, that's exactly how that works. And with the Bills thrown in, I don't know if this is the Bills defense or actual hard currency, because I'd like the latter. I'll take some hard currency if we're throwing Bills. Is this like cash considerations in baseball? Because I'll take that. So
look, we also could have had the Bills for a fifth-round pick back in September. We also could have had Raheem Mostert and Ken Walker on September 1st. So, we're not even starting the season yet. For Mike Davis, Russell Gage, and a third-round pick. I mean, at the end of the day, what did you end up trading for Ken Walker?
I don't know. I mean, I have to go look at that. My trades completed. Of course, it shows me the whole league.
That's right.
Because I traded a third-round pick.
Yeah, so I guess in hindsight, you could have also
got a fair deal.
But you would. But in September 1st, no one's making that deal.
Yeah, I mean, I also made that deal October 11th. Isaiah Pacheco wasn't remotely close to being a starting running back who I had to drop.
No, absolutely not.
To do. Yeah, you have to do. I mean, obviously, you have to be a prisoner of the moment. So that's just how it goes. So yeah, I think we've reached peak Paul. Paul would like us to vote right now to extend the trade deadline. I mean, no, that's not really how that works. Again, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't even want to know where to begin. What would be? I mean, that's the question, right? What would be the value of the assets Paul even had remaining at the trade deadline? Pacheco, marginal value. Garrett Wilson, marginal value. But I don't know what.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is there's no one left, right? You can, Deontay Foreman might be worth a 9th-round pick. Drake London might be worth an 8th-round pick now that Kyle Pitts is injured. Because the problem is all of these guys that get taken up, too many spots too early, well, then it depresses the value. The one that I would have been interested in would have been Jameson Williams out of Detroit, 13th-round keeper.
I don't think so.
If only because you could sort of stash him in the IR spot and wait for him to come back. But again, it's a speculative ad. Yeah. So again, 10th-round pick. It's something interesting.
I don't think so, right? So I think it's one, I don't think Jameson Williams is worthwhile. Okay.
Right.
He hasn't been designated to return yet. He's not practicing. So the whole issue is, at what point is he going to really be practicing getting those reps? I think it's a useful stash in like a dynasty, of course. In our league, if you were a bad team and Paul maybe qualifies or does, it makes sense to hold him because the keeper value, all you need is to see 2 or 3 weeks of like decent, competent performances to know, wow, full healthy offseason, he's going to be a stud. But that's right. Trading for him and then someone on a good team with a good roster, keeping him for a 13th round pick, I don't know that makes sense. I have Jameson Williams and two redraft leagues, and he's on the IRs, but I'm pretty close to just dropping him because even in the playoffs, he's not starting in those teams. For Paul, I look at it, I think Drake London has some value because I would expect there to be a completely different offense next season. Rachaad White, if you assume the deadline that is longer and Paul gets him on waivers because Evan was an idiot, then okay, Rachaad White clearly has value. Jonta Foreman has some value, probably not long-term. Bills, okay, some value if someone wants a defense and they're looking at matchups. Pacheco, of course. Peoples-Jones, probably, because I think Deshaun Watson increases the passing game floor for the Browns and Burrow. But none of those are like major assets other than Burrow. And Paul shouldn't be trading Burrow because Burrow puts you in a position to have a top, certainly 10, if not top 5 quarterback week to week going forward, and you have him for a number of years. So to me, I think Paul had traded away most of the valuable assets, especially with Olave. So I don't think there would have been a lot there other than someone saying, I'll take a flyer because why the hell not? Or playing a matchup of, I want the Bills defense. I don't see something else happening. But that's just my take. So, Paul, early in the year, Jameson Williams was worth a 9th round pick. He's not worth a 9th round pick now. Like, you have to be, as I said, a prisoner of the moment. You have to be dependent upon what is the current position of your team, of your roster construction. Right. You don't get to, you have to decide, okay, what do I want to do? How I'm presently situated, not what I could be. Right. Jameson Williams, we thought he'd be back by now.
Mm-hmm.
He's not. 100%. He's not practicing. He's not even in the 3-week designated to return position. I don't know how to assign value to that because essentially this year's a waste. And I don't know that we're going to learn really anything because is there an incentive for them to rush him back or to play him?
No, so not really.
Right. So that's sort of how I see it, personally. But so that was Paul. That's the trade deadline. I don't know. I mean, have you looked around the league at the other teams and seen, does someone just not have good keepers going forward? Not this year in terms of keeper decisions, but in the future, going to next year. Is someone really kind of in a spot where they might need to make a deal with Paul in the offseason or someone else for that matter?
Yeah, so I think Justin, our previous podcast guest, really did bring it into focus, saying, I should tear it down and just do a hard reset, not keep anyone. You should always keep someone. The spots are there for a reason, and the value is there, and there's reasons to do it. But look, outside of, Jamal Williams, who will be kept at a 9, I don't know. I think that decision to not keep Lamar and go with Dobbins really did set him back for this season, and frankly for the foundation of his team going forward. It almost makes sense to just run it back with J.K. Dobbins and hope that next year will be better. It's still only a 15th round pick, so you can at least gamble on it and hope for the best. But I don't know. That seems like a tough sell there. I'd also say Paul, for all of the, joking and talking about like, oh, he's going to keep on selling all these guys and they're good keepers available. I don't think any of them are really kept at a commensurate to their value for what you need for, to be successful and build your fantasy team on. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to take you're going to take a defense at the 9th round. look, I mean, we saw David Njoku in a fourth. Anything's possible, but was it? It's just not much there for you to really think about. Garrett Wilson at a 10. Okay, that's interesting. Mostert at a 12 looked a lot better until Jeff Wilson came in. It looks like he's taken the job there. It seems like there's a lot for Paul to think about. How am I going to use these new picks that are acquired here and really do something with it? You keep Burrow at an 8. I mean, I guess you can keep Burrow at an 8. That doesn't seem terrible.
You have to keep Burrow at an 8. It's, for example, like I think to me, I think the person who's really in a really rough spot is, I think it's Bodson, because you look at that roster, there's really no one you want to keep.
That's
you're
right.
not going to keep AJ Dillon in the second round. Devo would be a 6th round keeper, I believe, next year. The way that offense looks with McCaffrey, Ayuk, Kittle, I don't know that you can depend on Devo. I can't remember exactly what Aaron Jones. I think Aaron Jones is really, Aaron Jones is like a 5th rounder or something next year. I think Bodson's in a position where he's kind of stuck, Aaron Jones and Devo, and probably just has to trade them at some point next year, because I don't think you're keeping Kenny Pickett.
Right.
Claypool, Cam Akers, Alec Pierce. I mean, these are just Darnell Mooney, Curtis Samuel. None of these are inspiring.
And the other interesting thing too with that is Bodson's draft capital really doesn't kick in until 2024. So the big trade that sent over Jamar Chase, not Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Geno Smith, and Travis Kelce, the first and the second from that don't convey until 2024. He does have a 6, but he traded away a 6 and a 7th for Dak Prescott earlier this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing, right? That's to me the one roster where I go, oh, you kind of don't have a choice, and that's okay. You just live with it. I mean, it's still value for Aaron Jones and for Deebo, but I think you're at that point. You're pretty close to going, okay, if someone makes me a competent, or a relatively compelling offer next year, if they're playing well, you might as well do that to set yourself up for 2024, because I don't see anything else on that roster that goes. So it's just interesting. I am curious how those will play out, in the off season, because that's a team I go, what's here? There's just nothing. So, okay. Let narrow it down now. It's crunch time, right? Regular season crunch time. Okay. Tight playoff races. First, we'll give our tip of the hat to Joe. Congratulations. You won your division. They didn't put up a fight. So, you know what the topics are here for the playoffs. Where do you want to begin? Floor is yours.
Yeah, so I think, we need to look at the Leos division first. Let's save, the big $6 Costco pie feast of the Tombs division for the end. But I think breaking down the Leos division, Tates has to be kicking himself. He would have gone, and I'm also kicking myself too, because I would have the little margin for error, but 6-5, Lowell scraping out the victory by
disgusting.
It says here less than 0.7 of a point, so just 7 rushing yards from somewhere, or a catch for 2. Catch, the fumble loss, all of those things there. Tates has to be kicking himself, because, that really means he's going to have to run the table to get to 8-6, and then he's going to need Wagner to lose twice. And playing against Kirshner and Beads, look, anything can happen. We've seen Beads win 2 games as the second worst scoring team of the week, but I don't think that is likely to happen a third time. And the other
Yeah.
thing too is, when I was talking to you before the show, it's like I have to look up what the buys are. Week 14 is going to be a really tough bye week. Well, it's not as bad as I thought it was. It was New Orleans, Chicago, Indianapolis. I believe is Arizona one of them too. But the buys are not going to be impacting Wagner as much as I thought they would. So it really does mean that Eric's going to need a win and help to win that division, and I don't think help's coming.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. One of the topics, of course, is Wagner really going to choke, and I think for Tate's monumental result last week. Obviously,
Yeah.
James Conner fumbled. It took a while to score it. Obviously, it counted. Huge difference. It's kind of crazy to look at what Tate's could have had. First of all, just forget. Obviously, he left 30 points on the bench. Yeah, do you start Josh Palmer? Goes 8 for 106 and 2 touchdowns? Probably not. But if you do, Cordero Patterson against the bad Bears run defense, which I probably would have done over Boyd. That was a debatable toss-up, right?
Yeah.
That gets you the win. Or either Cole Kmet or Kyle Pitts over Dalton Schultz gets you the win. I would have gone, I'm sure Cole Kmet, just based on what he'd done the prior couple of weeks. I don't trust Schultz. There's a reason why he got dropped by me, and he's been kicked around by others. He's never looked fully healthy, and they just don't throw him that much. Dak has not hit 300 yards since he came back from injury. Tate's kind of played himself, overthought it, maybe let Justin influence him. Any of those decisions, it's a different outcome.
Yep.
For me, obviously, I played my optimum lineup. There were no choices to make. It was This was it. It was hard to watch because I thought I had DFS lineups. I had Olave, I had CD, I had Boyd, and some. I'm like, these guys should all produce. I was really scared, and when Olave catches that 60-yard bomb, I go, fuck.
Yep,
I'm done. What? That's going to be it. He had done nothing all game, and then he catches a huge backbreaking score, and I just sort of eked it out. Right, everybody just kind of hit their floor. And just enough to get over the line. I agree. I think that's a huge moment for Tate's because now he has to win out.
Yeah.
And either score, right? This is a crazy thing. Tate's is 245 points behind Wagner. So he'd have to outscore him by 80 plus points a week on average.
Will not happen.
That's not going to happen. So Tate's has to win out or go 2-1 and Wagner goes 1-2. I just don't see that. I don't think Wagner's going to lose to Paul and Justin, although Justin picked up P. Ryan, so who knows? And I just, unfortunately, I think for Tate's, he's left in a position where no matter what, he's probably looking at the 6th seed, maybe the 5. We can talk about that because I do think it's now guaranteed who the 5th is. And for Wagner, I mean, he has done everything all season long to try to drag his team down to not win. Unbelievable.
I mean, the capital that he had going into the year, it was like, if Wagner does not win, it's malpractice. And even like looking at the projections, though, like rest of season projections and team value, Wagner should be better. I mean, we think about this. We look.
He has not led the league in scoring since week 1.
Yeah, he hasn't led the league in scoring since week 1. He also hasn't finished below fifth in scoring since week 3.
Since the first month of the season. Like, this is crazy, right? I mean, he's 0-4 in luck games, meaning he's basically scoring, third, or he's lost close games.
Mm-hmm.
He's
lost 2 games where he was the 3rd highest scorer in the league, which meant he had an 80% chance of winning those games, but based on schedule, he didn't. Yeah,
I mean, obviously, some of that is matchups and everything. I mean, you
Right.
look at it, right? He's the third highest scoring team, but he loses to you. You score 174.
Right.
Obviously there's nothing he can do. So a couple of these losses, right? In all of his losses, he hasn't scored above 117. Most of them he's
Yeah.
under 115, and the teams he's going against are all scoring above 120, most of which are above 130. I mean, he loses to me. I put up 137. Joe puts up 137. You put up 174. Jacobs, before he had punted on his team, put up 120. So those
Yeah.
are his losses. They're not bad losses, but it's it's
I mean,
brutal.
you look at the strength of schedule, because everyone at this point has now played the same schedule, bye
Yep.
weeks notwithstanding, what have you. Wagner has had the most points against, so he's had, by definition, there the toughest strength of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And now
Mm-hmm.
he's going up against a pretty weak division. I don't think that's telling tales out of school to say that.
Yeah.
He should be able to go 3-0, get to 9-5, and then that gets you the third seed. So that makes it really interesting, and it can lead to either, a third rematch against Eric, or one of the two teams in the Tombs division that are fighting for that last playoff spot.
Yeah. I mean, look, we can see it here on the screen, right? I mean, he has by far the hardest schedule. And no, part of that he's had to face you on a week you went off, and on weeks when Joe and I, had marginally, outscored our average, right? So he's lost to the three teams that are ahead of him in the league by decided margins. I mean, those have not been close games.
Right.
But basically, he wins pretty much all the other games that he's supposed to, outside of, kind of some flukes. But man, you start the year off with that amount of assets and that kind of, the way the draft fell. Oh man, I mean, I agree. He's going to be the 3, but this is like the Tennessee Titans being the 3 seed. It's like, yep, okay, like
they're
what
there.
you do. Like, you don't want to play them, but if you had to pick, you choose them over the Chiefs, or the Bills, right? That's
Right.
kind of what it feels like. And I don't know why. It's just, I mean, he has obviously with bad luck. He's been the leading scorer once, but he's only really had one or two weeks outside the top 5 in scoring. I mean, so he's not bad. It's just everything is working against him in terms of the playoff seeding, and we'll see. To me, and I posed this question to you, right? So is the 2 seed the most favorable position or seed to be in heading into the playoffs with the way the season is broke, in the sense of where the quality teams are, where the bracket's likely going to fall? Should a team want to be the 2 over the 1, or does it really not matter? You think that there's so much parity between the top that it doesn't make a big difference if you're, where exactly you fall?
Yeah, I mean, it's a valid question. I think the case that we were making earlier in the year, where you want to be the 2, so you get the winner of 3-6, I don't know if that applies as much anymore. Because I think with the trade for Waddle, I think Matt's team is still good enough to make a quality run in the playoffs that I would I feel like there's not much of a difference between the top 4. And I would think that there are still flaws with all of the teams that are in the top 4 that you can't really say like, oh, I definitely want to be in that 2 line, so I am guaranteed to face the 3-6 winner, as opposed to being the first seed and knowing you're going against 4-5. Because you look at my team, right? Mixon, even putting away the concussion issues, hopefully he's back for the playoffs. But that playoff schedule for the Cincinnati Bengals is extremely difficult for running backs, right? Mixon was a good trade to get me to the playoffs, but I am not going to be thrilled about starting him against New England in week 16, Buffalo week 17, Tampa Bay week 15. I think for Wagner's team, he was riding Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey. Giants, Saquon Barkley is going to have a tough time with the rest of the season as they're finally facing teams with very good defenses. And that might impact him down the stretch. Richmond, Justin Fields might not play rest of season. Like there's been some discussion about that where, the separated shoulder, he gutted out the game on Sunday. He might not play this week. He could be, it could be something that really tanks his value. He might not be able to play this year. So I think that's an issue as well. And the running backs for Joe are not great. I think we all know this. And then on your team, there's definite question marks at wide receiver. So there are all teams that are very good. All of them have flaws. There is no super team this year. And because of that, I think the 2-3 advantage is not going to show up as much as we thought it would.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize the Fields injury, the extent of it. I mean, apparently it's separated shoulder with a partially torn ligament, essentially the AC joint. Fields said, I guess, the other day that if there was a game that day, he wouldn't be able to play. I don't like the way that sounds. Whether or not he plays or not, I mean, the Bears have no incentive to continue to play him, let him get hurt worse. However, if the injury can't get worse, is there another possible penalty here? That seems dubious.
No, I don't think so here.
But with Fields,
no,
I can't imagine there.
No, it's just a goal kick.
Yeah, with Fields, clearly they're going to give him the 5th-year extension, right?
Right.
He's proven enough to say you have to commit to him. He needs a significantly improved offensive line. He needs a clear number 1 receiver. Darnell Mooney is not that. Chase Claypool is not that. They are both decent number 2s or very good number 3. Cole Kmet is a good tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Their priority should be offensive line, receiver in free agency, maybe rookie receiver, and, Marvin Harrison, right? Jackson Smith and Jigba, right? Go get these Ohio State kids who are studs.
Right.
And defense. And go hire a competent defensive coordinator to redo your defense. Eberflus can focus on, I guess he's a defensive guy, so who knows there. But you can't risk him getting hurt. But for Joe, at the end of the day,
he still has Jalen Hurts, which is also
Also helpful. I don't look at Joe and go, oh man, Fields putting up 40 points is obviously a week-winning situation. You can't depend on that week to week. We saw it last week. The injury's real. I don't think they rush him back. There's no incentive to. They might as well hunt for draft position. So I don't know if we see him or if we do, if they tell him not to run as much or what.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the injury it's definitely real. I don't know. When I just think about seeding in general, I don't really think there's a benefit to being – look, you want the bye because you eliminate the potential losing to an upset, right? Which we know happens in our league. But yeah, I don't know, between Joe, Wagner, yourself, my team, they all have the ability to put up 150, 160, 170 if everything clicks. I don't really think you can bank on one path being easier than the other. So much of that is matchups and injuries those weeks.
Right.
I don't think it makes – I would prefer not to play you. I'd prefer to somehow find a way to avoid being the one of the 4. But that would require me to lose.
Right.
And that would require you to lose, me to beat you, me to lose, me to beat you, and Joe to have more points and then become the 2. But I don't know that I want to face Wagner because Waddle, Adams, Brown, I mean,
that's tricky.
Scary. It's scary. And if there's no Waller, no Renfro, Devontae is going to continue to get like 20 targets a game. So I don't like that prospect. So I don't know. I don't think there's an easy answer to that.
I would agree.
I mean, look, you've jumped over 20 points a game in terms of your average in the last month. It's kind of crazy. It's not sustainable. Cooper Cup disappears and you're scoring more points than ever.
Right.
But look, what's going to happen in our division? I mean, who's getting in here at what position, right? Obviously, it's a tight race. The next 3 weeks matter immensely. Week 13 in particular, that's the big head-to-head between us. It's the head-to-head, Eric and Wagner. I mean, that's a huge week in the league.
Yep.
But what do you see? Matchups or not, what do you kind of think is going to be the situation?
I think if we break it out, there are, I think we have to assume that just based on projections that you and I should beat the other two teams in our division. So that puts us at, you at 12-1, me at 11-2, but more importantly, it gives both of them 8 losses. So this will come into play when we think about the wild card.
Right.
When we look for, week 13, I feel like, look, there's no reason for the matchups are great. There's no reason for me to pick against myself the way these teams have been playing. I'm going to say I'm going to go 3-0. This team is set up to peak at the right time. Will they? I don't think so. It could happen. It could not. But I think there's let's just call it a 55% chance I pull off the division sweep. You come in at second at 12-2. And then I pull out based on the tiebreaker, because that's what our tiebreaker is. 70 points over 3 games is not insurmountable by any stretch of the imagination.
It's going to take
on
a lot.
Your end.
But
it's certainly the way my team's been playing. Look, until the merry-go-round stops, I'm going to keep on riding it. I'm still picking forward there. But I think that brings up the interesting decision about what happens with the other two teams in the division. And I want to get your thoughts on that, or even just on what do you think at the top half moving forward?
All right. Well, first, Batshuayi scored. Here's what I'll say. I think our matchup comes down to the health of Jamar Chase. I think if Jamar Chase is healthy, I think I have the edge in that matchup. And the reason is the Bengals are playing the Chiefs. And you got Higgins, and I've got Chase. And if Chase is 100%,
That's right.
I like it to. Oh wow! What I mean, is that off a goal kick? Unreal.
Restart on an offsides, I think.
I mean, either way. Well, that's how you go direct. Boot it 70 yards, let Batshuayi run onto it, and drill it past the Frenchman, the French-Canadian goalkeeper.
Mm-hmm.
Canada, I haven't been paying attention in the background here. Probably been the better team in the first half. Belgium off, hitting him just completely. That's how you play direct. That's North-South football. I mean, you can't.
That's right.
But again, getting back to it, I think Chase is the key, because if there's no Marshawn Lattimore, I got Mike Evans on Monday night against the Saints, and as long as it's within 20 points, I have a chance. But to me, Chase, if he's healthy, I mean, that should be a shootout in Cincinnati against the Chiefs. And and the Bengals get the Bills the following week. So I've kind of tried to set up my roster so that I have what I think are some good or favorable matchups in the playoffs. I don't know on your end, Tyreek Hill goes to San Francisco. I don't know. Niners are really good against outside receivers, really bad against slot receivers. So that is one to watch. Where does he line up versus Waddle in that matchup? I've got Josh Allen Thursday night in New England. You've got Geno Smith against the Rams. Look, could you play Daniel Jones? Could I play Deshaun Watson or Tua? Of course. So there are alternatives. But I think the Chase Higgins is the key one, because I think one of those guys is going to have a big game in that matchup. And
Right.
the one who doesn't, I think that's the huge swing. Overall, to kind of put a bow on it all, I think Drew gets in because I think even if Drew only gets to 6 wins, for
Mhm.
Drew not to make the playoffs right now, assuming he beats Jacobs this week,
Right.
or not this week, next week, Drew needs, or he doesn't beat one of us, which is certainly doable because Eckler, Jacobs, and King Henry can carry him
Mhm.
on a given week. But I don't see Kirshner, Paul, or Manny going 3-0. That's kind of what has to happen. Even if they go 2-1, right? Manny doesn't have enough points to get past Drew, and neither does Paul. And for Kirshner, he's 80
Well, no,
points below.
it's Eric. Because if Eric,
Well,
Eric,
no. Well, I mean that's in terms of general seeding, but I mean I think Eric gets in. You're talking about you're talking about 6 teams get in,
oh yeah,
right?
right,
That's the key. The key is who's the 5, who's the 6. I don't know. I think Eric's problem is unless he wins out, I think Eric's going to be the 6 because he doesn't have the points for to get him high
right,
enough up. On the flip side, it's who's the question. Who's the other playoff team? I still think it's Drew. I just think he's got the points for advantage in any tiebreaker. So if he beats Jacobs
yeah,
next week, it's really hard for me to see him not getting in
right.
because we have 3 teams in the league that are just amassing wins, and so that's why you're going to have a 6 and 8 team in all likelihood make the playoffs.
Mhm.
And Tates has upgraded his team in a way that he should be able to beat Justin and Paul head to head, particularly
That's right.
Paul, but Justin as well. Even though I don't know, you never really know, but to me, that's where I see it. In terms of seeding, Eric's going to be the 6 because unless he is in over someone on record and he beats Wagner and is 8-6 or something crazy, or even 7-7, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if Eric's the 5, sure, then the 4 matters, right? You'd want to be the 4
Right.
against Eric. Eric's team ceiling is probably 110 or so points with all the injuries and everything. So yeah. So between you and I, does that matter? No, I'd rather have the bye than have to play
Right.
Eric, but I'd feel confident playing Eric than if I had, either way. So I'm not too worried in terms of the way that all shake out. I just think I think what's likely is Eric will find a way to get to the 5 because he has an easier path here than Drew. But Drew had such a points for advantage that I can't see him not making the playoffs. He'd have to go 0-3,
Mhm.
and then these other teams would have to win at least 2 games. And that's maybe Manny because his division's not very good, but I don't know.
I
So
mean,
that's how I see it. That's how I see
yeah.
it.
So to that end, going back to our previous discussion of 1v4, 2v3, do you almost rather want to be the 4 than the 3?
Well,
Then the 3,
but you can't be the 3 because
you can't
the
be the
division
3,
winners get the 3 seeds,
right?
the 3 top seeds, right? So you don't have the ability because we don't reseed. Okay,
Right.
if we reseeded, it would be a different circumstance where you could say, okay, hey, if you're the 4 and you win, but you get to play the
Right.
2 or something, or the 3 or whatever, however it all shakes out, right? You don't necessarily play the 1, yeah, then that matters, but the more realistic thing is you just want to be in and you don't want to have a bye because it's one less chance to lose. So you want to be the 1 over the 4. Joe's the 2. Joe's the 1 of the 2. Joe's not,
Right.
Joe frankly could probably end up as the 1 because there's enough of variability here where you and I both lose and the way the points for shake out. Joe could be 1.
That's true.
Probably unlikely because it's most likely you went out and then you're the 1, or I went out and I'm the 1, most likely.
Right.
But
well, if you went out, you are the 1 because you would only have
right,
the 1
exactly.
loss.
That's what I'm saying. I think so.
A lot of interesting things to play for as
we'll just leave Beads
look in the
rant
division
in
pod.
the chat. Yeah, well, Beads' rants in the chat. We'll leave them alone. Burrow could put up 35 easily. I don't know about that. 35 easily? No. 35, yes, not easily.
Joe Burrow has put up more than 35 points. How many times this year?
0.
Once.
Well,
Once against Atlanta.
Atlanta. I was going to say the Chase game where he went off. That's it.
That's right.
Once. In his
So
career.
easily, or, one out of every 10 times.
Yeah.
Hey,
10%.
Those are the same.
So you're saying there's a chance. So
that's right.
All right, sir. This has been a blast. We'll have you. I'm sure we'll have you back on when we get into the playoffs and we get to the division round. If you're still alive, we'll definitely see you in the off season to discuss Paul trades, because I do think that's a much more. That's a good hour easy. We got to get some slides and things ready that we don't have right now. So fantastic. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Give our best to the missus. I've got another call here at 3. And we'll see if Canada can equalize in the second half. So if you're listening on podcast, you'll already know the outcome of that game.